So, I don't know why we have no sound. Sorry, just bear with me. I'm just going to check everything. So, there we go. Okay. I don't know why we have no sound. There we go. Should have sound now. Hi, Valerie. Just gonna make sure it's still going. Okay. I think we're good. So, we're going to, I was going to say do it a little differently, but it's pretty much the same. I'm going to explain what happened last week and why we missed it, and then why we're meeting tonight instead of Saturday, like I said. I'm going to then jump into this, and we're going to do 2 weeks because we missed last week. So as promised, we're going to catch it up. So I'm going to do 2. And then I have, for anyone interested, because we are talking about parenting and moms tonight, I do have a treat. I'm going to go through a few of my top picks, references for moms. I will try to link all these in the description later as well. I didn't have time before starting, but I will try to do that just to, if anyone's looking for a reference or a book that is decent for moms, Christian moms, obviously, I will link to those and share those. So, good evening. For those of you that are new here, my name is Kimberly, and we have been doing this since the beginning of this year. We're going to do this every single week for the duration of this year, and we're working out of a Bible called the Busy Moms Bible. So we are doing the devotions out of here every week, and we're kind of just talking through the questions. There is a chat. You can feel free to say hello, put your name in there, answer the questions in there. We will try to go through those as I go through the night. We usually read out of here, which is an NIV, but sometimes I change it up. What else can I tell you? This is us. Welcome. I'm a mom of 6, and I have a crazy life, so I understand busyness. Anyhow, mind my messy, crazy hair today. I gave up. And with all that to say, let's kind of get started. So last week I missed this, and that's because I had said I was going to do it Saturday morning, not realizing Saturday morning we had to be somewhere else. We had a meeting in the morning, and we were gone for the whole morning into the afternoon. And then I had other stuff I had to do. It never ends. So my husband and I are, my husband's off on disability leave, and so we've been deciding to school during that time. So we're in school, and then we decided to add extra degrees to our studies, so that added a ton more schooling. Plus we homeschool, plus our kids have different abilities, and so we have a ton of appointments and a ton of things that we're managing on top of all of that. Long story short, what happened last Thursday is that our son's basketball had tryouts for 2 weeks, and I thought, okay, well, it's till 7. Or no, it was starting at 7, I think. Anyway, whatever. I was like, I can manage. I can still do this. I can get him there. My husband drives and just drops him off and goes and does his thing. He can pick him up. And we had it figured out. And then when tryouts were done, they started games. And without knowledge, they extended him from 6 till 8. And I was like, I can't be there from 6 to 8. I do this. And so I was like, okay, let's juggle things around. I'll move my Bible study. We have one vehicle, so I drop my husband off at his Bible study, and I will drop the kids off at their youth group, and then I'll take him and I'll go to basketball, and we'll figure it out, and then I'll pick everybody back up. And so that was the plan, and we had it all situated, forgetting that I had appointments on Saturday. And then that next week, on Monday night, I got an email, this week, that he had basketball on Tuesday. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? So they ended up moving him because of his abilities into the younger group. And so he's now on Tuesdays from 6 to 8. And I'm like, okay, great. Now I can go back to doing Thursday night Bible studies because Saturdays are never going to work. So we're going to be on Tuesday nights. However, I think in light of summer coming, and with trying to get 2 of my kids to bed by 7 o'clock, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to push us till 7. So I will have this on and ready and be jumping right on at 7 o'clock to go, because I think 6:30 is just with kids going to youth and my husband going to Bible study and dinner and trying to get them ready for bed. It just kind of all happens at this time. So I think I'm going to extend this just a half an hour till 7 every Thursday. So hopefully that's good with everybody. Hopefully you can still watch. And if not, please feel free to watch the replay. Please, you can still leave comments and questions. I will still go back and try to answer them in the chats. You can also private message me. All of that to be said, that's kind of what happened. I do apologize, but I had no notice, and I really was not happy with this basketball organization. I even emailed them and told them I was really not happy with the way they're communicating. You don't send an email half an hour into when he's already there. He was already had to be there from 6 to 7, and then you told me it's from 6 till 8, but he's already been there for an hour. Like, that's not how you do things. Needless to say, he had no one to watch his first game. I sent his brother the next one, and we'll go from there. Tuesday nights are crazy as well, but I'll figure it out. So with all that to be said, let's get into why we're actually here, shall we? So tonight we have 2. So I'm going to start us off. The first one we're going to talk about tonight is a model mom. So I'm going to just move this if I can. So I can monitor the chat a little easier. That's what I'm going to do. All right. So a model mom. So the verse it gives us is, follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. 1 Corinthians 11:1. Reminds me the fact of our kids are sponges, right? Like, they literally copy us when we don't even realize they're watching us. Like, they're always trying to see what we're doing. So it says, as a mother, you have a unique position, both as a parent and as a child of God. Moms know what's best for their children. Our rules are for their good. We know that our children will be happier if they obey. In the same way, God, our Heavenly Father, has rules meant for our good. Do we obey him the way we want our children to obey us? Do we trust that he knows best the way we want our children to trust us? Because if we don't, guess who's watching? Choose to openly obey God in front of your children. Be the model you want them to follow. I think that's hard. I think sometimes we don't. I think sometimes we expect obedience. We don't realize that we also are supposed to give obedience, that our Father in heaven expects that same requirement from us. So with that, tonight we are going to 1 Corinthians chapter 10, and we're starting in verse 23, and we are going to chapter 11, verse 1. So let's jump over there really quick. Okay. So chapter 10, 23 to 11, verse 1. It is the believer's freedom. I have the right to do anything, you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is constructive. No one should seek their own good, but the good of others. Eat anything sold in the meat market without raising question of conscience. For the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. If an unbeliever invites you to a meal and you want to go, eat whatever is put before you without raising questions or conscience. But if someone says to you, this is being offered in sacrifice, then do not eat it, both for the sake of the one who told you and for the sake of conscience. I am referring to the other person's conscience, not yours. For why is my freedom being judged by another's conscience? If I take part in the meal with thankfulness, why am I denounced because of something I thanked God for? So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Do not cause anyone to stumble, whether Jews, Greeks, or the church of God, even as I try to please everyone in every way. For I am not seeking my own good, but the good of many, so that they may be saved. Follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. I think that passage can be hard to understand because there's so many questions throughout that passage. But in other words, we're supposed to do things Not that we're supposed to conform to the world that someone is saying by saying to eat what's put in front of you. It's a respect thing, right? It's the not being a stumbling block for somebody else. It's not doing something that's going to make someone else question their own faith or their own, I don't know, walk with God. So it's literally just doing our best to follow this. And it's literally meaning that we're supposed to follow this as our example. This is our guide. You want the best parenting book ever? Here you go. You already own one, I'm hoping. If you don't, please message me. I have a whole closet full of Bibles that are for other people. They're not for me. I have Bibles upon Bibles behind me. I don't need more. So if you do not have one, please let me know. I have mom study Bibles and teen Bibles and kid Bibles and regular Bibles, you name it. But this, you want the ultimate parenting book? I'll show it to you. It's right here. This is a letter from our Father, how we are to be. And this is the perfect guide on how our kids should be. So that's what this is. And to follow the example of Christ is exactly what we're supposed to do. So with that, let's read our questions. What strengths have your children inherited from you? Is talking really fast a strength? If so, I think there's a couple that have inherited that. I think art is something that some of them have inherited. I have so many children that I see different traits, either inherited or picked up in almost all of my children. And most, I would say, is positive. I see a lot of them reading their Bibles. I see a lot of artwork and creativity. I see a lot of different understanding and level and depth of Bible stuff that some children at that age would lack. This Bible, if that's what you're asking, Valerie, is the Busy Mom's Bible. It is an NIV, but any Bible is what I was referring to. Any Bible, this is the best parenting book ever. It doesn't have to be this one. Any Bible. I can pull out any Bible. I have 100 here. Like, there's another one. That is the best parenting book ever. Here's a pretty one that I like. This is the best parenting book. It's thicker. Doesn't matter. My humor. I don't find myself that funny. I really don't. My husband is funny. And when I see the kids being funny, I think they got it from him. I don't know that they get that from me. Anyways, I don't know. That's a really good question. That involves some deep thought. I'm going to have to sit and think about that this week and kind of give an answer later, because I don't know. What weaknesses of your own do you hope they avoid? Ooh. Being a loudmouth, as in saying the wrong thing or using your words in a harmful way. I think I don't struggle with that as much anymore, but I definitely did at one point. My weaknesses. I don't know. I think the tongue one is a big one. I think that would be my worst one, my concern. What recent choices might you have made differently if you were conscious that your children had been watching? I don't know, because our house doesn't have a lot of privacy. I mean, this is in our room, so I do shut the door sometimes, but I rarely lock it. And I think our house is just one of those houses where it's just, you're just available. You're able to just kind of go wherever and ask, and if you need something to come. So I'm in their light a lot, I guess. My decisions, my phone calls, nothing is really kept private in this house, unfortunately. Sometimes I have to, but for the most part, I don't try to hide that. Yesterday, I was on the phone for an hour and a half with the government trying to figure something out, and my daughter cut her finger in that process. And so I was around my kids answering questions like, what's your social insurance number, and stuff like that, because I don't have a concern of my kids knowing those things and seeing how I'm handling that conversation with somebody that I'm speaking to. But in the process of that and her cutting her finger, we had to rush to the hospital. And I had 2 other kids going to swimming lessons. And so it was my husband and another child took 2 other children, and away they went, and they dropped us off. And, excuse me, it was ridiculous. But the reason I'm telling you that is because in the moment when that phone call got dropped at the hospital, I could have been really mad. I was mad. But I could have been angry and yelling and getting my phone slammed down and whatever else. I could have just done whatever and shown that. And instead I just put my phone, I messaged a friend, and then I put my phone away for a few minutes. And I just breathed and sat there. And then actually I got out my Bible. And so my daughter, who's with me, although she's cut and she's in pain and she sees us waiting, she didn't feel guilty that it was her fault. She didn't feel like that lost call was like the end of my good night. I was in a bad mood the rest of the time. Even when the hospital didn't do what they should have done and what was expected, I still didn't get angry. My daughter got to witness what it looked like to express the need and explain what we wanted while remaining calm. So I don't know that I have an example of what I wish I'd done differently. Now, a few years ago, there's lots of those. And from day to day, there's probably a few of them. But for the most part, I think I'm a little more aware and conscious of the fact that my kids are watching me and around me all the time. And that their view, their firsthand view and experience of a mom and what that looks like and what that's supposed to look like is me. I am their example. So if I'm giving a bad example, I'm teaching them that's acceptable. So I have a good understanding of that. Okay, that was the last question. So for the study, additional verses on raising your kids. So the verse for that was role model, and I think that kind of just summed that up. Like, we are the role model of our children, even when we don't want to be, or we don't realize they're watching, or we don't think about it. We're still their role model. If I could get to the right page, we'd be even better. Bear with me. Okay, so we usually do some memory verses. And we're going to do 2 sets tonight, but I'm going to give you 1 set for this one and 1 set for the next one. So for this one, I'm going to give you mothering. So her children arise and call her blessed. Proverbs 31:28. Exodus 2 verse 1, Moses' mother gives him up to save him. That would have been hard. Isaiah 49:15, God likens himself to a mother. And Matthew 23:37, God is like a mother hen. So again, I will repeat these, not to read through them this fast, because that's never going to happen. I'm going to repeat them so you can write them down so you can study these this week. So it gives you 4 verses. So those were Proverbs 31:28. The second one was Exodus 2 verse 1. Sorry if you can hear the thumping. That is my dog. Charlotte, stop. Isaiah 49:15, stop. And, sorry, I'll repeat that one in case you didn't get that in between all the stops. Isaiah 49:15 and Matthew 23:37. So those are the ones I'm giving you for that one. With that being said, let's jump into number 2. So this one will be week 16. I can't believe we're 16 weeks into this year. Where did that go? But anyway, like, we're so far into this calendar year that my Bible study is ending for the summer. Crazy. Okay. Discerning differences. Do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Ephesians 6:4. As parents, we know we should love our children equally, yet we do ourselves a disservice if we set out to love our children in the exact same way. Note the difference. Children are individuals with different wants, needs, and interests. The parenting methods that worked with child number 1 may completely fail with child number 2. It is up to parents to discover how each child wants to be loved. Resist the urge to love your children in the way you prefer. Adjust your style to cater to each child. Make sure each one knows that he or she is deeply loved. I'm going to pause there for a second because I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to put something on your heart. So when we're talking about children, anyone that has raised more than one child knows this. Anyone that's even raised one child and has seen other families probably could pick this up. No 2 children are alike. No two children want the same thing. No two children like the same thing. No two children need the same thing. So I have two children diagnosed with the same diagnosis, but yet could be completely opposite things that calm them down. One kid might enjoy a hug and some deep pressure, while the other one hates that. It drives them crazy. And I think that's true, even what we call neuronormal children. It's true for everyone. Every one of us have preferences. Every one of us has ways we understand things, ways we do things, ways we want things or like things. Do you think that our Heavenly Father, God, who this is his book that he wrote to us, do you think there is times where he loves each of us differently? Not more, not favoritism. I'm not talking about, he loves me more than he loves you, or he loves you more than he loves me. I'm talking about, do you think he could love me differently than he loves you? Do you think he could love you differently than he loves your neighbor? Do you think God loves us uniquely? I think he does. I think things he puts on my heart and things he shares with me and Bible passages that resonate with me may not be the same ones that do with you. I may love a character in the Bible. Anyone that knows me, I don't know where it is, knows that one of my favorite characters is Rahab. And over here, my children know this, so they've made me these little bookmarks that go from scarlet to white, because I always say that God could have taken that rope, and if that is our sin, he can make it pure as snow. So anyways, those are, oh jeepers, if I can hang it back up there. That's just me. Maybe you don't like Rahab's story at all. You're like, I can't believe that that's in the Bible. I don't love that character. Maybe your favorite character is, I don't know, Paul. Right? Like maybe you prefer New Testament. I don't know. But I feel like God meets us where we are, and that his love for us can be unique. And so should ours. As parents, as moms, we should love our children as they need it. So one thing I've taught my kids over the years, and this has actually stuck, is it is maybe not equal, but it is fair. And there's a difference. Equal means you all have exactly the same. Fair means you all have what you need to thrive. Like maybe one kid needs a pair of new running shoes. Well, when they're younger, they're all like, I want those. I want those. And it's like, excuse me, what do you mean you want those? Like, you don't need new shoes. If I were to buy every kid a new pair of shoes on the same day, I would spend hundreds of dollars. Maybe I don't have that. But maybe only one kid's shoes are ripped. The rest of you don't need shoes. You want them. That's fine, but you don't need them. So I'm only going to give the one that needs shoes. So is that equal? No, not everybody got a new pair of shoes. Is that fair? Yes, that's fair. That child needed a new pair of shoes. So that's how we've kind of taught our kids the difference. And that's kind of what this is referring to. It's not talking about favoritism. It's talking about, or even equalism. It's talking about meeting each child with their needs. Anyone that has special needs children, that meeting each child where their needs are, or where their abilities are sometimes. This dog is driving me nuts. I really hope you guys can't hear her. Anyways, we are reading tonight in Ephesians chapter 6, verses 1 to 19. My husband's favorite chapter. So, Ephesians chapter 6. Who knows what Ephesians chapter 6 is? Anyone guess where we're heading with this? Which is interesting, because chapter 6 of Ephesians is the armor of God. So, starts with about parents, though. Starts with obeying. I will send you one of those, Valerie. My kids make stuff like that all the time. Like, if people wanted one of those, we should do a study on Rahab. Like, I like this study, and we should maybe do 2 of these weeks into one, and then do like a whole week on Rahab. Maybe that's just me because I like her. Maybe other people don't want to do that. Actually, something neat I'll show you really quickly in the back of this book. There is 5-minute readings. So there's a whole page on 5-minute readings about Jesus. And then there is a whole page about 5-minute readings about women of the Bible. And I believe, yes, Rahab is on there too. So anyways, just interesting little things in this Bible. Without all the distractions, though. Okay, Ephesians 6. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on the earth. Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Slaves, obey your earthly masters with respect and fear and with sincerity of heart, just as you would obey Christ. Obey them not only to win their favor when their eye is on you, but as slaves of Christ, doing the will of God from your heart. Serve wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not people, because you know that the Lord will reward each one for whatever good they do, whether they are slave or free. And masters, treat your slaves in the same way. Do not threaten them, since you know that he who is both their master and yours is in heaven, and there is no favoritism with him. So again, we're talking about God not favoring, but still can love us uniquely. So finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything to stand, stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions, with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the Lord's people. Pray also for me, that whatever I speak, words may be given me, so that I will fearlessly make known the mystery of the gospel. So, that is kind of talking about sharing the gospel, but it's also talking about, putting on the armor of God. I think when we think of that passage, we think about the armor of God, and then we think about sharing the gospel, and we think about with the world. We think about, out there. What if we thought about putting on that armor of God to protect our own children? And what if we thought about sharing that gospel even in our own homes? Whether you homeschool your child or not, it is your job to teach your child about God. Whether they attend Sunday school or not, still falls on you more frequently to teach them about God. You spend nighttime tucking them into bed. You spend the mornings trying to get them up and ready for the day. You spend the most time with your child than anybody else, teacher or Sunday school teacher or anybody. It is your job to teach them about God. What if Ephesians 6 is talking to parents or moms? I think we read it in a certain mindset of God told us to go to all the world, to go to all the ends of the earth with the gospel. But he could have been also meaning right here at home. So that's interesting to me. If you have not ever studied the armor of God, I cannot reach it because it's way up there. But Priscilla Scher does a Bible study for women on the armor of God. I believe it's called Armor of God. Highly recommend that study. It's one I would happily lead. It is one I have. She is incredible. The explanations, the diving in, the deep scriptures, the relating it back to other scriptures, you would get a ton out of that study. I know I did. Anyways, so let's see what our questions are. How do your children express love? That looks different with all my kids. Actually, I think they express love in fighting. Maybe. They argue and fight with each other quite a bit. Actually, I think how they express love, I think sometimes it's gestures. They like making things for people. Sometimes it's physical, like a hug. I think a lot of times it's just spending time with you. Sometimes they seem like they're trying to annoy each other, but when they ask them why they're annoyed, they'll be like, well, because they keep asking me if they can help me. And I think that's because they just want to spend time together and they don't know how to say that. But I think that's how they express love. What can you learn from them about how they want to be loved? ask. Communication is always my first go-to with anybody, any relationship you have. Communication will always be my highest advice. Even with God, if we're praying, are we listening? Because I would get tired of a one-sided conversation all the time. And that's literally what prayer is, communication with God. So I think communication, high priority right there. How else can you learn about the way your kids want to be loved? Well, you could watch their body language. You can learn about your child and observe what they're doing when they are with other people and what they expect as love, or what they experience, what they think is love. What can you do to better show your love for each of them? I think spending quality time with your children is important. Some people will tell you that has to be individual. It can be 5 minutes alone with one of your kids. That's enough. Sometimes it's what they need. There's days where I don't spend alone time with any of my kids because I just didn't have the time. But there's also days where I've spent alone time with all of them, or I'm spending alone time with one of them and the other ones are all playing together. Like it varies. We have lots in life that needs done, and unfortunately it's not always possible to have one-on-one time. However, you don't always have to have one-on-one time. It's quality time, and it can be multiple. It can be playing a board game all together. Sometimes that's the best time because it teaches them how to get along together. Okay, so there's all that. And then your word for this one was discern. And I think we need to use a lot of discernment when it comes to our children. So I'm going to flip back here again to our words. And I'm going to give you your scriptures for this one as soon as I can find it again. Okay, here we go. So for this one, we're going to do favoritism. And so, sorry, this hair. Okay, so the same Lord is Lord of all. Romans 10:12. Genesis 25 verses 28 and 27 verses 5 to 17 leads to deception. Genesis 29 verse 30 to 35 leads to unhealthy competition. And Genesis 37 verse 3 to 5 and then 18 to 28 leads to hate and sinful actions. So I'm going to go through this list again. So you have these again so you can work through them this week. So the 4 verses, well, there's a few more than 4, but the 4, they're broken into categories. The 4 are Romans 10:12 is the first one. The second one is in 2 parts. The first one was Genesis 25:28, so chapter 25, verse 28. And then under the same heading here is chapter 27 of Genesis, verses 5 to 17. So Genesis 25:28, and then Genesis chapter 27, verse 5 to 17. The next one is Genesis 29, so Genesis chapter 29, verses 30 to 35. And then the last one was also 2 sections of the same chapter. So it was Genesis 37, verses 3 to 5, and then verses 18 to 28 of chapter 37 as well. So hopefully you got all those. Those are the verses to look up for this week. And I'm going to tell you what we're doing next week before I switch over to these books. Sounds like some people might be interested in that Bible study of Priscilla Shires. It was really good. And it's not like her other stuff where she's talking. Like if you've seen any of her recordings of like the seminars she does, it isn't like that at all. It's like she's talking directly to you like I am tonight. So it's done really well. And it's very, very informative. It's good. So we'll see. Okay. Next week, we are talking about relationships. So as you know, this goes by 4-week periods. So we're starting this in April. So it'll probably go till the middle-ish of May. It'll go 4 weeks, and then we'll be switching over again. So for the next 4 weeks, we're going to be discussing relationships. Next week's topic is share the work. So I have some stuff on that too, and I always try to bring extras besides just this. But with that being said, I did promise to go over some books, and even if you're not a mom and you're here tonight, there is some of this that applies to you. There's kids in your life, I'm assuming, or even other people who are not believers in your life that are watching you. what you do, what you say, how you handle yourself, it matters. Absolutely matters. So this stuff is relevant. These books are geared to moms. However, some of these books will apply if you are an aunt, a wife, a grandmother. Most rules us women fill. Even a single mom might benefit from a couple of these books, and I'll try to point out which ones and why. So without further ado, let's jump into those. First one I have here is called Lies Homeschooling Moms Believe. I don't know that you have to be homeschooling to read this. I think a lot of times we are hard on ourselves. This one is done like a study, by the way, and there's cute little pictures in it. We are hard on ourselves, and the enemy loves to whisper in our ears. When he whispers in our ear, I think unfortunately sometimes we believe him, and we repeat it, or we put it on repeat in our head, and we keep playing the reel, and eventually we believe it to the point where we don't even know where it started, but it's a belief. And so this talks about a lot of those lies of, I think, come up in homeschooling, like I can't do it, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, all those stuff. But I think also just being a mom, this applies. So this is by Todd Wilson, and I actually have a second copy of this if someone really wants one and can't find it, because this is an older book. But I do, and he has like, I think 6 kids. Anyways, I do have an extra copy of this one if someone wants it. So there's that. Give us a second, guys. I heard it cut out. Why? Just why? Anything? There we go. Okay. I think we're back. Okay, it's working. It has to be working. Sorry, let me continue. Anyways, this is by Sarah Mackenzie. It's really good. So the example I was trying to give of this book is, let's say you have math and science and English planned out for the day, and you're trying to get them to do an English essay, and all of a sudden your kids are having a meltdown and they can't regulate. So when that happens, basically what this book is telling you is to stop and see what God's trying to teach you and them in that moment. Maybe you need to change what you're teaching them that day. Maybe you need to teach them how to stop and pray. So this book talks about like how to literally teach from the rest of God. That's literally teaching from rest. This book is phenomenal. And I don't have another copy because this book is expensive and very hard to find. It took me 3 years to get an actual physical copy of it, and not just an online version, which for anyone who doesn't know this, I hate online books. I actually want to hold it in my hand. If I want to go to the beach, I don't want to be staring at a screen. I want to have a book. So the title, I don't know if you got, okay, so the first one was Lies Homeschooling Moms Believe. The second one was Teaching from Rest. Both of these books are very small reads. Okay, this one. Becoming Mom Strong. I still have a sticky note in it, probably because it was something that was really good. Worthwhile is easy. I don't know. It says how to fight with all that's in you for your family and your faith. Heidi St. John. I believe she's another one out now called Becoming is Becoming Woman Strong or Becoming God Strong? I don't know, something. There's another one, I think, to this. But this one was the first one a few years ago. This is a lot thicker of a book. But she talks about like coping with things in life and just how to literally become a very strong mom for your kids, but also be strong in your own faith, which is a good pairing those two together. Okay. We have 3 more. So I did a total of 6 references for you tonight. So this one is by Jim Daly. I don't know if you've heard of him. He does the Focus on the Family, which they now have a podcast. They were like a Bible thing. They started back years ago, like 90s, dealing with family and faith. So when parenting isn't perfect, parenting is never perfect, but we struggle, right? And so this one is another good, it's faith-based. Jim Daly himself writes it, which he's the president of that company. He does the Focus on Family. And I think I've seen some recent podcasts, so they're still doing them. But this one is really good about the toughness of parenting. So again, this one's a little bit thicker. Another good read. I'm going to try to find these all on Amazon and link them, but I'm not promising that I will find those first 2 because the one is hard to find and the other one's really old. I don't know if I'll find this one either. This one is called Manna for Moms, and it literally is just little stories with verses to kind of give you a boost to get through. Like, it's like, I needed to read that today, right? Like, what we have all struggled. And so this is like moms sharing those struggles and sharing their stuff. The author is Megan Breedlove, and I don't know if she had anyone. No, I don't think she had anyone helping her. The chapters are just like, they're so short. Like they're literally 3 pages, and half of it is reflection questions at the bottom. Okay, so they're not questions to fill out like in the other book, but they're questions to like food for thought. So Manna for Moms is this one, and it's good. All right. Last but not least, this is one that I would say, like I said, I would share who they're for, but I think the Teaching from Rest one, anybody could read that. A single woman could get something out of that book. Becoming Mom Strong, same thing. The other ones are maybe more parenting or grandparent or aunt, possibly, depending how involved you are. This one here, though, again, I think anybody. I think, honestly, anyone could get something out of this. What this book is, it's called Hands-Free Mama, a guide to putting down the phone, burning the to-do list, and letting go of the perfection to grasp what really matters. So it's along the same lines as Teaching from Rest. This one is by Rachel Macy Stafford. And she like talks about the importance of being present. Not that we can't ever have our phone, or not that we can't ever be busy, but the importance of being present with our children. And again, it's a little thicker. Really good book. This is actually by Zondervan, so I can probably find this one. But it's really, really good. Actually, maybe that would be something to see. Yeah, see, this is Regal, so I don't know if I'll find that. This is Zondervan as well. And that one is not. Yeah, so the Zondervan ones, there's only 2. I'll be able to find those. The other ones I'll look for and see if I can link them. But the Hands-Free Mama is really good about paying attention to the things around you, about being present, about being intentional. I think a single person would get value out of this, even if you're not a mom. So definitely recommend that one. Anyways, those are my top 6 for tonight. I have other parenting books. I have other books, all kinds of topics, but I kind of wanted to give you guys, like, since we were talking about motherhood tonight, I was like, you know what are like the top things that I've read that were helpful to me? Because some of my kids, like, I'm being a mom for years. So I was like, what things helped and what things did I read? And so these 6 are the ones that I highly recommended. So just one more time, I'm going to go over them. Lies Homeschooling Moms Believe. Again, if someone really wants that one, I have a copy. Teaching from Rest, hard to find, but good book. Becoming Mom Strong. When Parenting Isn't Perfect. Manna for Moms. And then Hands-Free Mama. So those books are my top favorite. I will try to link those below and have a place where you can at least go and see the price, or maybe copy the link. I know some people are from the States, and so I'm not sure how that works. I think if you just type it back into into Amazon, because I know Amazon has two different ones, right? There's the Canadian one and the American one, and they don't always have the same stuff. So many times I'm like, oh, that's awesome, and then I can only ship in the States. It's like, I don't understand. What's a Canada ever do to you? But anyways, maybe don't answer that. I think that's a loaded question. Anyhow, with all that to be said, I hope this is fun and enjoyable for you guys. I hope it isn't too long and drags out. I tried to pick a devotion that was pretty short, but it was engaging and asked questions and tried to get everybody going. We've been doing this for 16 weeks. And so either you're at this point probably liking it or not liking it, but the momentum of it, the style of it, like the reading and then the scripture and then the questions and then the memory verses, that doesn't change for this entire book. So our topics change, but the style doesn't change. So if you're not loving the style, then I don't know that you will, because it doesn't really change. If you do like it and like how easy it is, which I do, then perfect, because this will be the way it is for the rest of the weeks we do. So with all that to be said, I would love it if you guys could write in the comments tonight if you have any Bible studies you're interested in, or characters of the Bible, or additional stuff that I'm maybe not covering in these, that you're like, oh, she was talking about motherhood and I wish she had have talked about this, or I maybe wish she had have shared a bit more about this. She shared about her kids and maybe she didn't share, maybe I'd like more information on that or whatever. I would love to know what it is you're hoping to get in addition to our Bible study. I also would like to know if you like this idea of me sharing some references and things that have helped along the way. I'm kind of going to gear this to what's helping people and what isn't, because this isn't for me. This isn't to sit here and talk to the camera myself for an hour or half an hour every night. This is to help other moms. So if I'm not helping, then I feel like I'm kind of wasting my time, and I don't have much of it. So I want to know what you think is helpful, what you don't. And if you're interested in doing maybe another Bible study, like we couldn't do the Priscilla one on the same night as this because it's too long. It's like 8 weeks or something. But maybe another night, or maybe on the weekend, or maybe something, like somehow tie it in. I don't know if anyone's interested in that. Or if they're interested in doing one night where we do 2 of these on one night, and then the next week we take the week to do like a Rahab study or a quick study into like Ruth or one of the women of the Bible. So if that's something you're interested in, either comment Armor of God or comment Bible study in the chat, and share this with your friends, because when we're doing a Bible study, the more comments and the more engagement, the more fun it's going to be, because I have some knowledge, but you have some knowledge, and maybe a friend you're inviting has knowledge. We can all share together. Imagine how much more knowledge we have and understanding we have when all of those people come together and share. So I think that's fun. I think that's enjoyable. So I would love to do something like that, but I want to know where everybody's at first. Summer's coming. I'm going to say I'm going to be less busy. I'm not going to be less busy. And I have surgery coming up, so I'm not going to be. But I'm going to see if I can find time. If people are interested in those things, I'll see if I can find time for us to do those. And maybe we could even meet on Zoom. It doesn't necessarily have to be YouTube for those. So we'll see how that goes. But share this with your friends. Make sure to like and subscribe so that you get notified when we go live, and so that you have the information as it comes up, because this channel is not just for this Bible study. We are hoping to add to it and kind of expand and kind of share our journey and where we're going and all the things that are happening in our life eventually. We are not there yet, but eventually. So it will change a little over time. But with all that being said, I am nearing our hour mark, and I've tried to keep them that's my maximum. I also have a closet full of books right now calling my name, because we're actually switching out the bookshelf. I'm taking the big one out of the hallway and giving them the little one because I have more books. So I need to get that done tonight still. So I'm going to pray us out, and I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you guys next week. And please comment when you watch this, if you're watching the replay or if you watch live tonight, what you loved, what you don't so much, so I can kind of guide how we're going to change things up moving forward. And don't forget, Thursdays, 7 p.m. That's going to be standard. I'm going to leave it there. I'm sorry for the confusion. I honestly wish I could share the email with you and the stuff that was going on, because it was totally messed up, and it was not necessarily my fault. It was crazy how it was happening, and I wish companies and organizations were more organized. So, with all that to be said, let's pray. Dear God, I just pray that you would keep the sound going on these videos for us, and also just guide us and help the word of God speak to our hearts. Help us to be able to take it in and really process what you're trying to teach us, and let us be guided in your will and understanding, so that we can be the best moms that we can be. We can be the best friends that we can be, and the best wives, or the best whatever our role is, God, even our own self, just the best woman we can be. God, we are made in your image, and our identity is found in you. So help us to just be the best version of that. And to challenge our thoughts and make us think about the hard things and discuss that and wrestle with it together as a supportive group, where we can feel like, hey, I struggle with that, and we can be honest and open and help one another. God, I pray that this would touch somebody's heart, and you would help somebody who needs to hear this message. I pray that everybody has a safe and happy week, and we will see you here next week. All right, ladies, that's it for me for tonight. I hope everyone has a great week, and I will see everybody next week. We will be doing week 17, which we're moving over to relationships. So, with all that to be said, I hope you have a great night, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.